Thanks for being here. We've had a lot of press conferences and training camp, and you got a chance to ask a lot of questions. So I don't really have an opening statement, but we'll just go right to questions.
EJ, starting your sixth season, what would you say are a couple of the most significant things that you've learned about this job and about yourself and the staff?
Yeah, well, one thing I think is just everything affects everything. I mean, that's one thing I've always taken a lot of pride in, is making sure that you're always 5-6 steps ahead as a head coach, so you can make the job around, or the people's job around you, better, more efficient. Not easier by any means, but more efficient. And I think that's one thing as you continue to go being a head football coach. You trust your people a lot more to be able to do a lot more things, not just coaches, but support staff as well, recruiting. I think everybody understands expectations, including myself. But the players are the number one thing, and everybody focuses on those people and making their lives better academically, athletically, socially, spiritually. And if you keep that at the forefront of what we do, and you're better people, you'll become better players. But I've also learned a lot from my players. I think when you're at the beginning and you're teaching, I've had year 1 and 2 at 2 different places, and you're in year 1 and 2, you're constantly working on getting people to understand how and what the expectation is and what the culture is and how we're going to do this. But when you start to get to year 6, you watch the players start to run it and start to lead, and then they pass that down from one to the other. You learn a lot from your players as you go through. I mean, I've learned a lot from this football team, and especially in year 6 when you spent 6 years with a lot of the same guys, which doesn't happen very often.
What's something that you've learned from them?
I would say patience. I think that, I think everybody kind of understands and knows my personality. Everything's really important to me, though. And it doesn't matter whether it's going to class, whether it's late to class, whether it's, understanding your assignment, your proper footwork, whether that's serving and giving in the community, how you talk to people, your body language. I mean, everything matters. But I think as an educator, you have to know that every single person learns a little bit different. And that's okay. Right? And over the years, you learn that from your players, and you start to learn so much when you just listen to them. One of the greatest qualities a leader can have is being the best listener in the room. And you've heard me say that a lot about Kirk Shiraka. He's an unbelievable listener. And as a head coach, you listen to, the needs of your players. And I think over the years, they've taught me an awful lot. The patience part, it doesn't mean the urgency's not there, but everybody needs it a little bit different.
Noticed the most improvement from Mike Brown-Stevens since last year?
I think the ability just to play big. He's not the tallest guy, but he's made huge plays in the offseason, spring ball, training camp. He's playing above his height, his weight. His body is filling out. He's able to play the outside, the inside. He understands the entire offense. I think he's mastered the offense that way and really committed to unrequired work in the offseason. And I'm really proud of him, really proud of his progress, because he has turned into a really dynamic player and still has some few years with us.
So much about sustainability. Is your program at a point where you have that now from year to year? You sort of know what you're going to get from that group?
Yeah, Chip, I would say yes. I think you never really know until the live games start, right? You never truly know, but you can have an idea. I mean, we talked in January, and I said I really like this team. They're a really fun team. They're going to be a really fun team to coach, and here's exactly why. And I think you can get a feeling of what that's going to be like. When there's going to be, if you're going to have this, you're going to have to do more as a coach to lead your football team than the players doing it, and you also know when your players can handle it. But I would say yes. I mean, you understand it a little bit more in year 6. And you've got 10 years of history to kind of go back on and see what type of teams they are. It doesn't mean that none of them are identical. And we can connect the dots back and forward all we want, but they're not the same. And every team has its own fingerprint and character and identity, and this will too. The 2022 team will as well. I just look forward to seeing what it is. You have an idea of what it is. You just want to see them go out there and do it.
Trey are back from season-ending injuries. What did you see out of them in training camp, and did they show you what you needed?
I saw a lot more even maturity than I have, and those are 2 of the more mature players we have on our team. When doing what you have to do becomes doing what you want to do, right? And you saw this maturity grow in their leadership styles, the commitment to their bodies, and really just going out there and playing and having fun on the field. I saw that, and I think that rubbed off on a lot of other people. And by no means a relaxed type atmosphere, but our guys love coming to practice. You've all been there. They love being there. We're spending a lot of time coaching the actual details of the game, the fundamentals details of the game, instead of just how. You know, if we got to keep coaching the how, we're not going to be very good. The effort part, and we're not doing that as much. And you can expect that from those two of setting the tone very early of what practice is going to be like. I can't tell you how many times Mo's called the offense up or Tanner's called the offense up without me having to say, hey, I think you should call the offense up right here. It's a great learning moment for you. They do it on their own. And, you know, when your best players are your hardest workers and your best leaders, you have a chance, right? And that's all we can do is put ourselves in best position. That's all we do all offseason is to improve your chances. It doesn't promise anything, but it does give you a better chance, and then you got to go take advantage of it. But those two guys, from the mastery of the offense to really leading, having fun together, and then just being able to know you're okay. You got to go out there and play football. I mean, it's a unique game. It's a violent game. And I think both of those have been able to, in their own minds, pass that test to know that they're going to be okay.
You had a historic defense a year ago. What kind of defense do you feel like you have this year?
It's different than it was last year. You know, I mean, I think you knew at some positions exactly what you were going to get. And maybe some areas, maybe we weren't as experienced. We're definitely more experienced now. You know, I think when you look at the front seven, we have a chance to be really good up front. A chance. But there's going to be 11 guys that have to play at a very, very high level for us to be able to maximize how good we can be on the defensive line and rotating those guys. If we can have the ability to rotate 10, 11 guys and not take any steps backwards, we can be really good. And I say if because that's the caveat there. The linebacker position, we have a lot of guys who played football. But if the front can do its job, the linebackers can make a lot of plays. And then on the back end, we can do a lot of things maybe we couldn't do a year ago with the depth we have in the secondary. So coached by Joe Rossi, you know what you're going to get. You know how hard they're going to play. But we can do some more things that maybe we couldn't do last year. But then we also have to limit some of the things we do because maybe we don't have the experience we had up front. And that will show in the first few games of what kind of team we're going to have, to Chip's question.
Decided on a starter at right tackle yet?
We're getting closer. The three guys that are in the mix, Martez Lewis, J.J. Gaudet, and Quinn Carroll, I wouldn't be surprised if we rotate those guys. Because I think we have enough depth, again, up front to keep guys fresh. But they're all in a hunt. It's getting closer. If this was tomorrow or the day after, I'd probably have a definitive answer for you.
How long will Daniel Jackson be out?
He's a little bit more day-to-day right now. He's worked really hard to be able to get himself healthy. You see him out there, if you've seen him running around, and he's more day-to-day at this point.
What do you know about New Mexico State prior to their first game coming up here this weekend?
Oh, it's interesting because they got almost a whole new roster, except for some of the guys that they had carry over. A lot of junior college players, a lot of transfers, some really talented athletes they brought in at all positions, really. I mean, they got really fast running backs who have legit like 10.6, 10.7, 100-meter times. But you kind of piece all of it together from where the coordinators were prior at multiple stops. You know, we don't have a definitive answer until Saturday of what they could be like. Just because they do that on Saturday doesn't mean they're going to do what they do on Saturday on Thursday either. They could have a completely different game plan. So you have to be ready for a lot of things. Throughout training camp, we prepared for every front we're going to see throughout the season, including what New Mexico State could throw at us. Doesn't mean that we've just focused on that, but we've, you know, been very broad and cast a wide net in our training and training camp. So we'll find out on Saturday. But, you know, we started New Mexico State basically today. Today's kind of like a bye-week Sunday. It's an extra Tuesday practice. We did some walkthroughs with them the last few days of the basis of our offense, defense, special teams that we know is going to be in. Then after they play on Saturday, we can have a better idea and trim it and add to it and game plan all day Sunday. And then Sunday, Monday, we'll practice at night, evening at Huntington Bank Stadium to get our bodies acclimated to the 8 o'clock time kickoff.
What are the attributes you'd like to see in a punt returner?
Well, one, you got to catch the football. Two, you got to make incredible decisions. I think that's a little underrated. You got to be a great decision maker, and you got to be a decisive decision maker. A lot of guys are not even, you know, when they're running back to block for you, they don't know where that ball is. There's a lot of communication that has to be able to happen, working the 10-yard line, being a kick returner, making sure that you make those smart decisions that we don't all see, you know, on the blooper reel on Saturday or Sundays and say, how'd that happen? And then explosive playmaker. But to me, that comes third. And I think we have some guys that can finally do it. Q Redding's a guy that's put himself in a position that he might have an opportunity to do that and specialize in that right now in his role. And I think he'd be a wonderful punt returner, kick returner. He's embraced the role. He's worked really hard in the offseason with the role. He's a 510-pound squatter. He's not the biggest guy, but he can throw a lot of weight around. And he's really smart and intelligent. But you got to be able to catch the football. You got to play situational football really well in terms of communication. Understand that it's not just go back there and catch the ball and go do something with it. And then the explosive playmaking ability. Some would put that in opposite orders, but we're getting the ball back. Last thing you want to do is flip the field, right? And we've always been pretty good at that. But hopefully we can find that total package where we can have a guy back there for a lot of years that can make some plays.
Is it clear going into this game that your players will have the focus that you want them to have? You're a 38-point favorite. Last year you opened with Ohio State, big contrast that way. And I know you talk about managing expectations internally, not listening to the outside, but what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I want to know championship season. Those are my thoughts. I know it's cliche and boring, but internally, I promise you, we're breaking the boring. That's our mindset. Look at the Bowling Green game last year. This team's learned an awful lot. A lot of guys on this team have beaten Auburn and beaten Penn State and lost to Bowling Green. It's football. Any given Saturday, any given Thursday, anybody can win. And those mean nothing to us. We have an opponent coming in. We have to play our absolute best football we possibly can play. And that's the challenge that our players have. And that's what we're getting them ready to do, is go play our best football that we can possibly play on Thursday night.
PJ, I don't know if it's standard protocol prior to a game, but do you plan on talking to Jerry Kill before that game against them?
Listen, I've been a head coach 10 years. I've never not shaken the hand of a head football coach. I think there's a tradition it goes 100 years ago, of coaches meeting at midfield. That has nothing to do with it. But I've been head coach 10 years, guys, and haven't not shaken one head coach's hand in my entire career. I might have had to go find a guy.
PJ, you don't often see a quarterback have 40 starts. How was that in training camp? I
say that, right? As he starts a new season.
In training camp, does that mean? I imagine that's a huge luxury to have a quarterback that has that kind of experience.
It is. And Chip, the great thing about Tanner is he constantly wants to even get better, right? And he doesn't look at himself as I've started 40 starts, I have all the answers. He's hanging on every word Coach Shiraka says. He's rallying his teammates. He's leading his teammates. He's gotten better in a lot of different areas. You could tell he's got this, I wouldn't say comfort, but has this confidence in the passing game, confidence in the guys on the outside. You look at our tight ends being able to be more involved, and then our running backs. He should feel that confidence, right? Based on everybody earning that, because we don't deserve anything. He doesn't deserve anything just because he has 40 starts. You're going to earn everything you get. A lot of times we feel because I've done X, I deserve that. None of us deserve anything. I don't deserve to be here. You got to go out and earn it every single day, or it's not going to be there anymore. And he's got that mindset of that earning it. And that's what I really respect about him most is there's been a lot of people come in here that gave it their best shot to knock him off that, that top tier and haven't been able to do it. We got some really talented quarterbacks behind him, though, and have a lot of confidence in those guys as well.
The reunion of yourself, Kirk, and Tanner. That dynamic, anything surprise you about that second time around?
It doesn't feel like a second time around. It really doesn't. I think it's almost a little bit of a luxury to know that, Kirk left to go to Penn State. He was gone another year at West Virginia, and you come back and still the same guy you coached is ready there for you. That's unique, and a lot of the guys on the outside are there, and guys that you were recruiting are here. It doesn't happen all the time. But I don't look at it as two. I look at it almost as like one morph. And, it's been fun to watch the camaraderie he has with the offense and the confidence they have in what we're doing.
As you close camp, what are your thoughts on the young guys behind Tanner and how they've grown?
They've done tremendous. I think Cole Kramer had a phenomenal training camp. A phenomenal training camp. And you've seen him in the game a lot of different times, and we'll have some certain packages, I'm sure, as we keep going through the year, but he's grown exponentially. And then when you look at, Athan, you talk about we always talk about skill versus talent, right? And he's got both. But it's the intangible part he's just got to keep getting better at. And he knows that. We have open conversations about it. It's not that he's not good at it. He just needs more work at it and managing the game, understanding the nuances of the game. how to go win games, and he's a winner, and he's going to do that. He has grown tremendously in his understanding of the offense, mastery of the offense, and now he's doing everything he can to make everybody else around him better besides just throwing the football. And he'll take the coaching on the run as he goes and meets players that just made a play for him, where before he'd throw the ball and be like, I threw the ball. That's great. You can coach me all you want. That ball was like on the money. And but now he's expanding his leadership into other people instead of just himself. I'm really proud of the progress he's making. He's going to be a really, really talented player.
Take one or two more for Coach.
What do you think will surprise us about your team this year?
I don't think anything should surprise you. I think all of you've seen it all. You cover so many different sports. We're in a massive media market. I don't think anything will surprise you. I just know this. I go back to the first year I was here. I said, when you turn the film on, you're going to love how we play. And this rings true for this football team. How we play, that's what we always want to be labeled as. I get the wins and losses, but this team plays incredibly hard, and they are what the blueprint is of how we should play from the beginning to the end, and I just want to see that on that field. So, again, it's more respect for all of you that I don't think anything will shock you. You guys have all seen unbelievable baseball and football and hockey and basketball. I mean, it's what you do for a living in this sports town. So you have the luxury of that.
What do you like about Dalen Wright's progress in camp?
He's maturing. He's getting better. I think Dalen holds himself to an incredibly high standard. And he's one of the hardest workers we have on the team. We have all those catapult, things, that the heart monitor stuff, and you look at him after a practice, and it's impressive. And he's a pleaser. He wants to make sure he does it right every single time. And I'd rather have that than the opposite, because you can really work with that. He's a really talented individual, and he's going to be a part of what we do with the wide receiving crew, and look forward to him making some plays for us.
Do you have a final one?
How excited are you about the mix of skill sets you have along your D-line that you can kind of match on a week-to-week basis?
Yeah, we're excited about it. I think we've had those conversations in the defensive room. Depending on who we're playing, people are going to get more snaps than the others, depending on how many third downs we have. But when you look at from the Big Ten, you got to be able to still play base and nickel and win in the Big Ten. Put it that way, right? And we finally have a personnel, I think, to be able to do that, where we can still stay in nickel and still be in a base-type defense, with Flip Dixon being that Sam linebacker and Donald Willis being that Sam linebacker / nickel. Same thing with Flip. So we have the bodies to do that. When you're talking internally and you're talking the edges of the defensive line, same thing. There's guys that are a little bit stouter that would put them in for more run-heavy teams, and maybe some guys more athletic on third down that can rush the passer, but also could use them on teams that don't run the ball as much. So we have the skill set to be able to plug it in where we need to, and you'd love everybody to do everything great. It'd make it very easy. We're working on that, but they all have a certain skill set, and we'll see how it goes as we go through the year.
Thank you, Coach.
Appreciate everybody. Roll the boat, Sky. Go Gophers. Thank you.
Thank you.